What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the Acura Audio Garage, and today I have another stereo review slash demo for you. So we actually did this video not too long ago when we had the CAR710 and the dual DCPA701. So Dual and Jensen have released new versions of their radios. So this is an updated video. A lot of the same stuff applies, but let's get into it. So basically, you have these guys, same radio pretty much. Software looks a little different. The faces are where it's different. So if blue's your favorite color, I recommend the Jensen. If red's your favorite color, I recommend the Dual DCPA701. As always, gonna ask that you like the video, subscribe. Always doing content for your Acura, obviously. And let me jump into it. So with these radios, they're really your budget-friendly option for Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. So both of these radios are gonna have Bluetooth. They're both gonna have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, wired Apple CarPlay, wired Android Auto, which means you're gonna hook up your USB to get into the interface. Again, Bluetooth, they're going to be backup camera ready. They're also going to have AM, FM, no CD player, no DVD player. You can play back media via USB. And I believe they have an aux, but not a traditional aux with a 3.5 millimeter. You're actually going to need an adapter. So you're going to need an RCA to aux adapter, and you can send aux into these things. Obviously, you can add other video sources. So if you want to mirror your phone onto one of these, with that mirroring technique where you plug in your phone, it goes into an HDMI adapter that then turns into RCAs and composite video. You could do that and mirror your phone on these that way, but it's not a native feature. Really, you're going to be looking at these if you want a budget option that works well for Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. Some of the features these lack are going to be parking guidelines adjusting. So you can't adjust the parking guidelines. You're going to have to either find a camera that has it or just live without them. They're going to be fixed. The other thing is the limited audio output. So these things don't sound bad hooked up directly to speakers, but the chips in here aren't as powerful as, let's say, something like a Kenwood. So if you were looking at the entry line Kenwood, the DMX47S, that's going to have better audio options and more audio output than these radios, but it's going to be a little bit more expensive. So with me, let me stop talking and let me start demonstrating. So what we're going to do first is we're going to jump into the unboxings, and then we're going to power up each radio. I'll show you some of the differences in between them, and then we'll jump into any popular questions that have arose from our last video. But as always, I'm just going to ask, I already did, but I'll ask again, make sure you like the video, make sure you subscribe. Acura Audio Garage always has content for your Acura. So we're looking at these two radios in the context of using them in whatever Acura you want. So you have a TL, you have a TSX, you have an MDX, you have an RL. These radios are meant, at least in our point of view, to be used with an amplifier. So if you send the output of these to an amplifier, it's a 3-volt output, you'll have good results, especially with factory amps in your Acuras. But that's the context we're looking at these from. So if you're watching this video and you're just looking for a review of either radio, it might work for your application. Just know that this is in the context of being for your Acura. But all right, let me jump into the unboxing. So we'll go red first. So the Dual, if I can show you the box. Actually, let me show you the radios. That'd be the best way. So like on our other video, guys, the first box, when we open the box, the first thing you have is this other box right here. And it looks like it's packing material, but it's not packing material. It's actually your accessories. So just like the other version of this radio, you have your microphone, your Bluetooth microphone. So when you install an aftermarket radio in your Acura or whatever car, 9 out of 10 times you can't retain the factory microphone, so you have to install an aftermarket one, and that's what this is for. Then you have your secondary inputs. This is what I was talking about. So here you have all your inputs. They're all labeled. So if you want to do a backup camera, you have the backup camera power and ground that you could run straight from here. And then you have camera in, which is this one. So this one will say camera in for your backup camera. Then you have a video in, so if you want to do an external video source. Then you have AV and AV. You have AV in, so this is where I'm saying you can hook up an aux input into these. And then you have your standard 2 subs. So your subs are mono, meaning Either sub you hook up, it's going to be the same output. So sometimes you run 2 RCA, sometimes you run 1 RCA for your sub. It's really up to you. Then you have your rear output front and left, and front output front and right. And that's all that's on here. On your secondary, on your primary harness, you have all your primary connections, which include power and, come on, if I could open it. So all the connections on here are going to include all your speaker connections. So let me show you those first. So all your speaker connections are just all your pair of speaker wires. So you have a pair of purples, a pair of grays, a pair of whites, a pair of greens. Those are all your primary speaker wire. If you're doing an Acura, 9 out of 10 times you're not going to use this speaker wire. You're just going to cut it off and tape it up. What the wires you're worried about are this red wires, ignition. So when you turn the key, this is what will get 12 volts to turn on. This is constant, so this always gets power. You have your illumination switch. The pink is your parking brake. Black is your ground. This is your reverse trigger, this purple with a white stripe. So that means that when you want to install a backup camera, when you're in reverse, this needs to see 12 volts, and this will switch the whatever on the screen to show you the backup camera. You have your steering wheel control input. So these we pair with the AXSWC or the ASWC1, which is the steering wheel control interface from Metro. It'll plug right in here. Then you have your power antenna, which is the solid blue, and your remote wire, which is blue-white. So if you're going to install this radio and you're doing it all yourself, instead of you not using one of our plug-and-play kits or our DIY products, the blue-white wire is your amp turn-on if you're going to run aftermarket amps, etc. So let me throw these back in the bag. Then, of course, you have a trim plate and then screws. And that's really all you need. I mean, alright guys, in terms of accessories, that's really all you need. Usually what you'll get more would be a GPS antenna, but this radio doesn't have built-in GPS, so you get no antenna. So now let me show you the radio. So remember, the main difference in radios is going to be the actual faceplate. So the face has changed from the previous generation. The CAR710 had the buttons on the sides. So the previous generation radio had the buttons on this side or this side, I don't really remember, but these are on the bottom, which is a much more cleaner look. I really like the way this new radio looks. You have volume down, then you have volume up, you have home/mute, you have search, and you have voice. So the voice buttons for your Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, you hit it, you can activate your assistant. And then just like the previous generation, you have your power plug, your secondary plug that we talked about. You have a USB cable that cannot be removed. So if you're going to install this, I recommend a USB adapter, so something that you can mount in the car somewhere and plug into here, or if not, you just have to run this wire somewhere you have access to it. And then again, a full double DIN size, but it's a shorter chassis, so it's easier to hide wires back here if you're doing, when you're installing. But the traditional mounting mechanisms of the radio work. And then since it has this lip, you see right around the edge, it fits well in the Acura TL dash kit and other dash kits, because normally some of these radios from other manufacturers are on like your brand name manufacturers will have a really thick bezel that's hard to fit onto dash kits, so you don't have to worry about that with these radios. So before we power it up, I'm just going to we power this up, guys. I'm just going to grab the other radio so that you can see what that looks like. Bring that one out so we can tell the difference. Again, when you open the dual box, it's going to be the same kind of setup. You're going to have that accessories box right in here, and again, Bluetooth microphone, same wiring harness, same primary wiring harness. It's all the same, so I'm not going to go through that again. But when we do look at the actual radio, that's where we'll see the difference. So here they are side by side. As you can see, the Jensen's going to have that blue home button. It really stands out, especially if blue is not your favorite color. The dual is going to be the solid black. So the buttons are going to illuminate red, but the actual buttons on the bottom are all black. But as you can see, they're the same radio again, same connection. It looks like just our LCD panels got updated from the previous version. But we're going to power these up and see if the software looks any different. So we're going to look at the dual first, and then we'll look at the Jensen. Alright Alright guys, so here's the boot sequence of our radio, and here's what it looks like. So let me get that on camera. So again, I haven't found much info on the Android mirroring. I called Jensen and Dual. I didn't get a response. I sent them an email. I didn't get a response. It says Android mirror, but nowhere in the instruction manual does it say anything about mirroring, nor does it say anything in regards to having the ability to mirror. So it only mentions Android Auto, and when I plug my phone in, only Android Auto appears. There's no option for mirroring. I looked on the Play Store for an app for it, and there's no app that I can find. So we're just going to go through the radio assuming that it's just Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. Now as you can see, it's been auto switching to the radio, and because that's the current source, so if we put something else, it'll switch to that instead. I'm not sure if you can change that. That's just one of the settings, is whatever source is playing it's going to default to. So if I go to Bluetooth, then it'll keep changing to Bluetooth. So let's start with the main interface. So here's your main home screen. This scrolls between your active source and the time. If you hit the time, you can obviously change the time here. I'm sorry, you can view the time here, and then you can turn the screen off. If you wanted to, you turn the screen right back on by just pressing one of the buttons. And then the other thing you can do is you have quick settings up here. So if I hit the brightness, it'll dim down right up there, and then I can see that I have Bluetooth enabled or something connected, and then my audio's up there as well. So if I'm muted, I'm like, why do I have no sound? I get a mute icon up there to let me know that I'm muted. So let's go back home and let's dive into the settings. So these radios are going to be stripped down. These radios are going to have very stripped down settings. So if you're used to a higher end radio, let's say like the newest flagship Pioneer, that radio is going to have a ton of settings for a ton of different options. Your settings on these radios are going to be really simple. So the first, you have your general settings, and this carries over from the version previous to this radio. You have the date, so you can set the date. You have the time, you can set the time if you want 12 or 24-hour format for the time. If you want that annoying beep whenever you're using the radio and hitting buttons, and then for you to set the region. Then on your audio options, you do have an 8-band EQ, so you can come in here and set the 8-band EQ. You do have preset EQs just like any other radio would, and then again, so you have a balance and fader. You have a low pass filter on your sub. So your subwoofer here, you have loudness here, so you could set the subwoofer low pass filter, and then a subwoofer level here. So if you had a you didn't have a bass knob, you want to control your subwoofer from here, you did have that option to do so. And then you do have loudness, which is it's going to boost a bunch of lower end frequencies. You do have a time alignment option, but it's again not something that I would suggest you really using in your install, just because you're not going to look at this radio for sound quality or sound options. This radio is really budget friendly Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. It's not really meant for running a complete audio system. Then again, you can turn your subwoofer on, and you have the subwoofer gain. Then we'll go into display. Here's something really important I want to show you. Is what the buttons look like. So you can see we have red illumination. There's no way to change these. Once you turn the lights on your car, you're gonna get this color. It's just what it is. All right, so now that this auto jumped us, let's look at the radio. So here you have your presets, and just to set your preset, you're just gonna come here, hold, and it's gonna set it. Then you have FM1, AM1. I'm not sure what this ASPS. Your cue from before. And then, of course, a keypad, so if you wanted to go to a specific station, so let's say like 106.1 is one of the big here. So we want to go straight to that. So I can go 106.1, hit OK, and it'll take me straight there. That's really it on your audio end. What I want to show you now is on the Bluetooth audio end. So once you hit Bluetooth, you can come into Bluetooth phone, and here you can see your devices. Here you have a keypad so you can dial from the screen. You can view your contacts, you get a call log, then of course you have the music of whatever you're playing, and then let me go back home. You then have setup, which is just if you want to auto connect. People are saying they can't hear you, you can turn the microphone up and down, and if you want to auto answer. So this is probably the settings you want. You do want it to auto connect when you get in the car, but you don't want to auto answer calls unless you want to pick up the call. And then the Bluetooth settings / interface is pretty straightforward. Bluetooth streaming sounds pretty good. You do get a couple of different formats for audio streaming in terms of the files that it can handle. I'll show you quick the manual it has on the Bluetooth operation. And you can see it says before using Bluetooth, make sure you pairing your device, and then streaming audio, you can press, you have controls for the audio in terms of being able to press play or next, previous from your steering wheel if you have steering wheel controls, things like that. Alright guys, that's really all I wanted to show you on this radio in terms of settings. As you can see, the icons are updated. I don't know if you can change that background. It looks kind of like a leathery background. I don't see anything here that allows you to do so. The updated icons look nice. When you hit them, they kind of glow. So it is a pretty cool looking interface. Now let me show you what Apple CarPlay and Android Auto will look like. Now I get the icon, and here it is. Now one of the concerns before with these radios were the screen when it came to Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. It kind of does like a mirroring effect. It's weird, like the embedded screen when you're using the normal things that are built into the radio, it looks very clean, very crisp. But when you switch over to Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, you do get a lighter tint on the screen. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but it does look a little bit different, but it doesn't look washed out in any way. It's still very usable, very nice looking screen. One of the concerns before was that the maps looked a little bit washed out in color, and you can see here that it is tough to distinguish some of the coloring on this map. It is not necessarily it's the angle at which we're looking at it. So straight ahead, you can see those colors are struggling, but once we tilt the radio in a certain angle, you do see it has better viewing. So just be aware of that. If it's really going to matter, this issue could be a bigger issue than so this could be something to look out for. Depending where you mount your radio, in your car where you have available to mount your radio, this washed out screen could be a very big problem. So like this map is almost unusable from the angle we're looking at it right now. But if I was to move you up or around, you could see that you do get a better view of the map. And as I look around, I can see that it's a lot better from other angles. So depending where you're going to put this radio is really going to matter how this map looks. So let me hook up Android Auto. Alright guys, so here we go on the dual screen, also very washed out. So now we're in Android Auto, and depending on the angle, it's going to be very big. So when I'm looking at it here, the maps look great. When I put it straight ahead, it's very hard to distinguish the difference in colors. Go home. So you can see this overlay, it looks it doesn't look also that clear either. I don't know what's going on, because if you go to the home screen looks great, but Android Auto and Apple CarPlay do look a little bit washed out. And this is in the previous model, it looked the same too, so it's not like this is a new thing. It just doesn't all look all that clean. Now it doesn't look terrible, it just doesn't look as clean as it would on another radio with more on a more expensive radio. So let me switch over to the Jensen. This is the dual. The dual is kind of what's doing this right now. So let me switch over to the Jensen, see if we have any difference. Remember, guys, these are budget radios, so these are some of the things that you are going to deal with. If this isn't a deal breaker for you, then it's no big deal. I mean, you're not going to watch video here, so the most you'll do is put on YouTube Music, or if not, go back and go to Google Maps. So between Maps and Music, it doesn't look terrible. It's just not as clear as you may want it to be. But all right, let me power this down. Let me switch over to the Jensen and we'll see what we can find. Jensen, and the colors really don't look terrible on camera, but from the viewing angle that I'm at, it is very washed out because I'm higher than the camera is. But I think that it's really going to depend where you mount the radio if you're going to have this issue or not, because normally the radio would be down lower to your right, and that really, the color, the angles there would make it so that these colors look correct. But looking straight at it, straight ahead, the colors do look a little washed out. And then I'm actually going to go to the main face, and you can see that the main face also looks, you just have some like weird coloring going on for some reason. But again, between YouTube and Maps, depending on your angle, it's gonna look fine, because as I move around, it looks really good from other angles, but just this straight on angle does not do the radio justice. But alright guys, let me jump into the settings of this radio so you can kind of see the interface of it. So it's very similar to the dual, just you have a different interface. This interface looks very like the one on the CAR710. So you have USB, Bluetooth phone, Bluetooth audio, and these are going to be almost identical to the dual, where you just have a different menu setting, a different location of the setting. So here you have is your Bluetooth settings, and these are going to be the same settings as before: auto answer, auto load phone book, auto connect, and microphone gain. So these radios are identical. The only thing is the interface presented to you for different settings. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into the settings for this one, and you'll see they're almost the exact same, just the menu layout is different. What I do want to show you is what this looks like at night. So you can see that you have the blue buttons now, and that's really what's going to be the differentiator, I think, for a lot of people. It's the same radio, but the illumination is different. So these have blue buttons, and it has that blue center button. It's like a light blue, as you can see on camera, but it still illuminates blue, the dual illuminated red. So that's something to keep in mind. Other than that, the radios are the same. It's not really a crazy difference. Solid unit, recommended. Actually, I'll take that back. It should be a solid unit. I should recommend it. We're not there yet. Check the updated description maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months from now. Once we get some more feedback on these to verify that they are what we think they are. But I just wanted to bring you into the loop. New radios released. You could probably find a version of the dual at Walmart. This you could find online. Both you could find on our store if you're interested in getting a radio for your Acura. That's really it, guys. I don't have anything else to say. I hope I kept the video short. I hope this information helped you. If you want us to do reviews on other radios, just let us know down in the comments. And if you're looking to put in an aftermarket radio in your Acura, AcuraAudioGarage.com, or AcuraAudioGarage.com. The website's not done yet. It's been a whole project, but you can still go to that address, and it'll redirect you to the site where you can actually buy stuff that you see here. But I'm just going to keep saying AcuraAudioGarage.com because eventually that's where everything's moving to. But all right, guys. All right, that's it. I thank you for watching the video. Make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. Thank you.